Well, clearly sports is in his DNA. You just have to look over his shoulder. You see the memorabilia. The question is that his playing helmet, football wise? That might be something we get into, or maybe we don't. It's Rob Dustin. He is a man who wears many hats in sports media, worked at CBS, is now creator and storyteller with Red Brick Sports, and they do all sorts of productions, a growing space in which Rob does a lot with ice skating and beyond. And we're going to tell his story here on the On to Something podcast. I'm Bryan Fenley with Fox Sports Radio and live events on Twitter at Bryan Fenley. Rob, I'm excited to have you on because I know that you've had some friends who have been on as well. And here's a question to get us started. Where do you feel you've had the greatest value to sports media?
Ooh, wow. I suppose with a single sport, figure skating, I'm kind of known as the figure skating guy. So I've been doing figure skating for a long time. First at CBS, doing the Olympics, and then we did lots and lots of professional skating competitions when CBS lost the NFL. And then I continued with figure skating with Fox. We did a primetime series called Skating with Celebrities. And then about 10 years ago, I started becoming an advisor with US Figure Skating. And about 7 years ago, a consultant and advisor with the International Skating Union. So I've seen the progression of figure skating over the years. I like to say I knew Tanya and Nancy before they were Tanya and Nancy. And I've seen the sport rise and fall and the popularity internationally. So that's kind of the sports my wheelhouse, because I like those types of sports. I'm involved in Olympics. So I guess that would be the sport I'm known for.
What happens when you put on ice skates?
Oh, lately I'm not very good. Years ago, I was doing a shoot and I couldn't walk across the ice quick enough. And I was fortunate to have Brian Boitano and Christy Yamaguchi there. And I had some skates and they kind of taught me how to skate. They taught me how to do a waltz jump along the side of the rink, and really have not been much of a skater since.
I would love to see some video of that. If only there was some video of Rob Dustin showing off with ice.
You don't want to see that.
You don't want to see that.
Yeah.
You branched off. You went off and did your own thing with Red Brick Sports. I want to talk about that in a moment. But what do you find over the course of your career that which you've tried the hardest at?
Not pleasing. Telling the story of others. So whether it was covering a particular event, I remember I was doing the Paralympics in Atlanta, and Al Troutwig was our talent. Very, very talented man, great storyteller. And we sat there just awestruck by a high jumper. I believe he was from the Netherlands. He only had one leg, but he was jumping like 7 feet. It was an amazing story. We saw it unfold, and Al's a great storyteller, great writer, and we put that all together and told that story. And that's just one of many instances in Olympic type sports that I've said, oh my goodness, this is just an amazing story. Not a big story, not a Kurt Warner story, not a Peyton Manning story, but it's just really interesting to tell the stories of these individuals, and really individuals in sport. I really enjoy telling those. And so that's always a challenge, whether it's sport or it's a commercial project and someone comes to us with an idea and they want to get it out there and seeing their idea realized in a visual medium. I really enjoy that when we do something right for a client and they see something that we don't even see, but it might have been in their head.
You enjoy it. How does it feed like your self-meaning to who you are when you are able to be that pedestal, that platform for others and get those stories out there for people to see?
Well, I consider it just a blessing that I'm in this business and that I'm able to work with really talented people, much more talented than I. That's my success, finding people better than myself. And, maybe it's my purpose. I don't know. I really don't know what my purpose is, but I know that I really enjoy doing this and I enjoy working with others and I enjoy using all the tools that we have to be able to tell other stories. I'm not big on YouTube and TikTok. I haven't gotten into that as far as telling my story, but your story, I want to tell your story, whatever that may be. So
how does your purpose, as we tell your story here, how has that changed from the youngster who graduated from Iowa to then goes to CBS Sports, then decides to go off on his own and do his own thing?
I wasn't a sports fan. I was not a sports fan, and I was probably one of the worst broadcast associates at CBS Sports in those days.
Oh.
I just did not have concentration. I was a partner and I, who's now a big executive as well. We were thrown out of a TV truck in Florida at Miami. I wasn't concentrating. It was my fault. We were supposed to let Jimmy Johnson on and Barry Switzer on the field, and I was supposed to go to the marching band practice on Thursday, and I didn't go. I talked to the band director, and so what happened was everyone's coming into the stadium, and Brent Musburger was our talent, and we're supposed to go on the air at 3:00, and all the marching band is supposed to be done by 3:00, including the national anthem. Well, the band director had told me when the anthem went on, but he failed to tell me that they're having homecoming queen candidates come onto the field right before the anthem. So we're like 2 minutes to air, no anthem, but it's going to be the next song on my list. And it was, but here come the homecoming queen candidates. So that delayed us about 5 minutes. The producer was very upset. So he came in the truck and pulled myself and my partner out and said, "You're not working today." And we didn't the first half. The first half, we just sat outside the truck. He came back and said, "Get in there." That taught me an important lesson just about being humble and attention to detail. Attention to detail is really important. That same producer had taught us, you have to be early. All the principles that everyone follows in television, I just didn't follow them too well at the time. But since then, I learned my lesson.
Being receptive too, how do you feel like that helped you in that moment? Because you could have easily kind of brushed that off and took it a different way, but the way in which you were able to take that advice, that criticism, and that coaching, if you will, and channel it, what does that say about the way your career has gone as well?
I suppose I am, it certainly humbled me. I don't know everything. And I didn't think I knew everything then. I just thought I could get maybe away with it. But it's talking about being prepared with whatever you're doing in life, whether you're going camping or doing a live TV show, just being prepared as you can be. Being honest with yourself, honest with others about, yeah, I made a mistake. I owned up to it, and realizing I made a mistake, and he gave me a second chance, and we went on to have great productions together, including the Olympics. And he's a friend of mine to this day. But it showed me, give other people a second chance, especially the younger folks in this business. And you may know a lot, but you don't know everything. And so, you also have to have room to fail. I really believe everyone has to be able to fail, to learn.
Rob Dustin is with me. I love those words you just said there. You brought up camping. Where's your favorite place to camp?
Probably the Grand Canyon, Colorado River. Took our family there a few years ago, and my wife and 2 daughters were not really thrilled about it. My son was, but we transformed them. They enjoyed water rafting, and so out west is fantastic. I mean, there's really no place. I mean, I enjoy winter camping. I enjoy summer camping in Tennessee, where it's 100 degrees out. You get used to it. I just love being outdoors whenever I can.
When you're in the whitewater raft, what are you like?
Trusting, trusting of the guide, trusting of my limited abilities. But I'm just in awe of God's wonder of the outdoors, especially on the Colorado. It's just on every turn. It's like, oh my gosh, look at that. When we were down in Monument Valley, that's where all these famous Westerns were shot. And it's just so unbelievable. And then there's a little cabin there that says it's John Wayne's cabin when they were shooting, I don't know, one of the main movies he did down there. It's just amazing seeing that history, but really just the outdoors and just the wonderment of what's been created for us.
You have a history yourself of going beyond sports and shooting stuff in entertainment. Why entertainment? I know that's a big love of yours.
I really, as I said earlier, I wasn't a great sports production assistant, broadcast associate. And so when I got into the Olympics, I saw a bigger part of sports, a bigger storytelling. I saw the wonderment of international sports and storytelling from all the international broadcasters and how they tell their stories. And doing features really got me into the production technique of doing some neat things with cameras and editing and such. And so I just felt that I wanted to try my luck at entertainment. I was fortunate at CBS at the Olympics to be able to do a couple of entertainment projects. And I just thought that was great. Let me just try that. I really love TV. It's not that I don't love sports, I just love TV and what that means. So even nowadays, when people are doing Zooms and stuff, that's TV to me. You're telling a story visually. So I just love doing that. So I decided to take a turn and continue with some entertainment projects. And one of them was outdoors. We did a series for Court TV called The Chase, shot it outdoors. It was kind of my love of two worlds, helicopters and trackers, not in the wilderness for days, trying to shoot a reality competition. Love that. Love that. And kind of came full circle doing a reality series for Fox, skating with celebrities. And I just enjoyed the entertainment side. It was just a different type of a challenge.
Where do you find the entertainment in raising three kids?
Oh, there's plenty of there's three. I do. I have two girls and a boy, and that's why you work. At least that's why I work. I work so I can raise my family and try to make them better than myself, and they are much better than myself. My wife, my three kids are much better than myself, and it's just really fun to see them go off and go on their own paths.
How do your kids to this day and what they do in life, how do they thank you for the role that you've played in their lives and their upbringing?
They are very gracious, and they do thank me for everything. Every Venmo payment I give them for dinners and such. And they tell stories. When we get together, we all tell stories about when we went here and when we did this and how that went and how wasn't that great and weren't we fortunate to do that. And they are I guess it's good that they still talk to me, and they call me. I don't have to call them. And they'll call and tell me about their day, and it's just great. I'm not as good as a listener as my wife is. She listens very well. But I do listen, and I try to ask questions, and I try to engage with them. I only embarrass them a few times when we're together, not all the time, but that's what I'm known for.
Well, what makes you think your wife a better listener than you?
Oh, she's just a better person than I. She really is. She's so empathetic. She's very empathetic. She listens deep. I will listen deep when we're on the air, but when we're off the air, I'm just like, so when we're on the air and talent are talking or people in a control room are talking, I think everyone's watching this has been a control room. They know. You just get this sense of listening to different voices, what's the urgent one and such. She does not do well in a TV truck because there's so many voices, and she's just too much. And so she's very, very good at listening.
Your kids good at listening when you would take them along with you on productions, and how do you feel like that's molded who they are today?
Well, my two daughters are kind of in the business. My one daughter is works with Call of Duty, and she's a social media manager with them. She runs her social media for Call of Duty at Activision. And my other daughter is a strategist for influencers. So she takes influencers and puts into brands and such. So they're kind of in the business. They both have expressed how grateful they were. I've taken them on live productions in the past, hired them legitimately, and they understand the importance of a live production, how it's different than a tape production or a social media production that's just, a pre-produced type of an event. So they really appreciate the live experience I've given them. And they say it's helped them in their side of the business. So that's good.
What about your son? And so he kind of goes on a different direction, and he decides, I'm going to try something else.
I did. I was blessed to be able to take him to Europe for 3 months. One year we were doing some figure skating. We taught him how to do replay. We taught him how to set up cameras and everything with a flyback. And he enjoyed that. He really did. But he, went his own way. He'd always enjoyed airplanes. And so he thought he wanted to be a pilot. So he went to flight school and went through that whole process and just recently graduated as a commercial pilot, and he's now a commercial pilot. He's actually flying for a skydiving school right now.
Wow.
So, I mean, he enjoys the technical side of stuff, but he also understands doing a live production. He's trying to translate into being a pilot live. You have to make instant decisions. His are life and death. My decisions are just whether or not you're going to hear something or not.
Has he flown you yet?
He has over Nashville where we live. It was great. I trust him completely. He's great.
What were you thinking during that moment that, your life is in your son's hands, essentially?
I gave it up. If fate is fate, but I was really impressed with his attention to detail. And that's where even my daughters, their attention to detail when doing their productions and such. And that's where, it's easy to miss that. And I know we all say attention to detail in the graphics you're going to put out, your script, but attention to detail in life is important. I try to do that listening to my wife better, attention to detail.
I want to leave you with this last question. Speaking of your wife, how has she made you better at your job?
She pushes me, she questions me, but I run ideas and different themes and projects by her, and she's a great sounding board. She's got a lot of wisdom, and she'll ask me the right questions that I can then respond with, yeah, okay, maybe that's a better way to do this or that. And she's very good at reading people, and I just trust her 100% on all that with people I'm working with, people we're hiring.
Well, how good are you at reading people? And if so, what are you reading about me?
Well, I'm not very good at cards, so I'll tell you, I've had this experience where people come to work for me and they failed, and I give them a second chance. And I'm just hopefully, and so far I've been lucky with that. Because I believe everybody deserves a second chance. They really do. And some people, this isn't the business they should be in. And you'll find that out. And some people, I shouldn't have been in sports. I wanted to be in TV, but I probably shouldn't have been in sports. But that's the path that God gave me, and that's the path I took up, and I was going to be as best as I could at it. So I believe I'm very big people person. I'm very big on delegate, follow up, and trust. Delegate, trust, and follow up. And so I try to live by that as far as giving people the opportunity, trusting they're going to do it, then afterwards following up with them and asking them. I learn from them that maybe I'd given them too much authority or too much responsibility. And so then I learn from that and move on.
All right. Lastly, what's your read on me?
I think you're an entertainer. You love to tell stories. You're a good listener. I can tell you're a good listener.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's important. I'm still working on that at my age, learning to listen better.
Well, I don't think anybody can do it as well as your wife. And she certainly is somebody who is such a team player in the household, but you have been a team player in your productions. And I go back to something you said at the beginning and you mentioned at the end, it's attention to detail. And that has to be one of the biggest reasons why your career has gone and launched the way it has. Rob Dustin, I'm Bryan Fenley. Rob, how fun was this? This was probably an interview that you've never done. We went to some cool places, but ultimately it got back to what we love the most, and that is entertainment and telling stories.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. That's what life's about.